And thanks for staying with us here on the JoyNews channel, DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 144. I am Blessed Sogah. This is the polls. Coming up, minority in Parliament files motion of censure asking Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta to leave office. Excerpts of the motion you see on the screen right there. Meanwhile, majority of JoyNews followers on social media say they agree with calls by 80 of the governing New Patriotic Party lawmakers who are calling on the president to fire his relative who he has kept in office against all odds. We'll break all of the figures down for you shortly. Meanwhile, there's a lot happening in Parliament. The fate of Dominic Kwabena MP Sarah Adwoa Safo is to be determined by Wednesday. At least that's the disclosure by Parliament as the House resumes. And the hopes of seeing the truant MP today did not happen. But what will be the next move by the Speaker of Parliament? We'll get you update shortly. Transport fares cranking the heat on pockets, especially in the capital. We'll tell you about the latest JoyNews discovery in our Living Standard series.
My destination is not a one-place destination. I can say roughly 40 cities, depending on where my site is. And in and out, sometimes 60 cities. So because of that, you have to sleep at the site so that you can get the job done.
Well, this is JoyNews. We are independent, fearless, and credible. The Pulse, as always, is brought to you by Global Communities, Dignilu, Affordable Safe Sanitation. Remember as well that this afternoon we're streaming live on YouTube and all of our social media handles is at JoyNews on TV. I am Blessed Sogah. Thanks for choosing us. We'll get into the details shortly. Also this afternoon, the minority in Parliament has filed a motion of censure against the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. The move follows calls by 80 of the minister's own party lawmakers who earlier today called on him to resign or get fired by the president.
I'm very happy that our colleagues opposite might have heard about our intention, which we manifested yesterday by filing a vote of censure at the Speaker's office with all the signatures. I'm sure my colleague Sanaba Blakwa and Co will forward the soft copies to you to see that yesterday we gave, and majority leader also admitted that
we are members of the majority caucus of the Parliament of Ghana, and we here so present a greater number of the said caucus. My name is Andy Apiakubi, and I am only here as spokesperson for the majority group, without more. We have had occasions to defend allegations of conflict of interest, lack of confidence, trust against the leadership of our finance ministry. The recent developments within our economy are of great concern to the greater majority of members of our caucus and our constituents. We have made our grave concern to the president through the parliamentary leadership and the leadership of the party without any positive response. We are by this medium communicating our strong desire that the president change the Minister of Finance and the Minister of State in the Finance Ministry without further delay, in order to restore hope into the financial sector and reverse the downward trend in the growth of the economy. The summary of our concerns leads to a plea that the Minister of Finance, Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta, and the Minister of State of the Ministry of Finance, Honorable Charles Edubuahi, be removed from office. We pray that this prayer will be carried to the presidency. We thank you very much. Meanwhile, we want to serve notice, and notice is hereby served, that until such persons as aforementioned are made to resign or removed from office, we, members of the majority caucus here in Parliament, will not participate in any business of government by or for the president by any other minister. We hope that those of us of the backbench and members of the majority caucus will abide by this prayer. We are saying that if our request is not responded to positively, we will not be present for the budget hearing, neither we will participate in the debate. Thank you very much.
Well, so that's the position of the majority side. Soon after, we had the minority also stating their case, indicating that they had already filed a motion of censure seeking to remove the government appointee.
But I've heard about our intention, which we manifested yesterday by filing a vote of censure at the Speaker's office with all the signatures. I'm sure my colleague Sogah will forward the soft copies to you to see that yesterday we gave them, majority leader also admitted that at the business committee we hinted them. And then we did file this vote of censure on behalf of the minority, which are worrying. How do we make up the two-thirds? But graciously this morning, we noticed that our colleagues opposite are saying 80 of them are ready and willing to support us. I think we've taken more than enough from the finance minister, and we are happy that this is happening, and we hope they will keep to faith that they will not chicken out along the line. I will want my ranking on finance, our ranking on finance, to read the reasons, the grounds why we think the finance minister should pave way for another person to possibly help salvage where we have reached. Because if we are not careful, we will just have a collapsed country. And I don't think anybody wants us to have a collapsed country. So I'll call on Honorable Atufo to read the grounds.
Thank you very much. To start with, colleagues and everyone, you recognize that the minority members of parliament are all in black today. We are mourning the democracy of the Republic of Ghana, as well as mourning the state of the Ghanaian economy. Our economy is in such a bad shape. If care is not taken, we will crash this economy to a point of no return. And that is why we have decided to mourn the state of the Ghanaian economy and to send a strong signal to government that we will not chicken out. The economy is our livelihood. We will stand firm for the people of Ghana because they deserve it. We think the people of Ghana has done no wrong to deserve this kind of treatment and mismanagement coupled with ineptitude. And so we are acting from now. And so from what the Chief Whip has asked me to do, I am reading the grounds signed by the Chief Whip of the Minority Caucus, indicating the reasons why we in the minority want our minister responsible for finance to step aside. The first one is the fact that we are seeing a despicable conflict of interest, ensuring that he directly benefits from Ghana's economic woes as his companies receive commissions and other unethical contractual advantage, particularly from the Ghana's debt overhang. The second ground has to do with an unconstitutional withdrawals from the consolidated fund in blatant contravention with Article 178 of the 1992 Constitution and the Petroleum Management Act, supposedly for the construction of the President's Cathedral. The third point has to do with the illegal payment of oil revenues into offshore account in flagrant violation of Article 176 of the 19th Constitution and the PFM Act, as well as the Petroleum Revenue Act, Act 815. The fourth one has to do with deliberate and dishonest misreporting of economic data to Parliament, where he decided to account for expenditure as amortization and certain expenditure as footnote in the financial reporting standard, contrary to global financial reporting standards. The sixth one has to do with the fifth one has to do with the fiscal recklessness, obviously leading to the crash of the Ghanaian cedi, which is currently the worst performing currency in the entire globe. And then number 6 has to do with the alarming incompetence and frightening ineptitude. In fact, if he had acted fast, we could have salvaged this economy. So frightening ineptitude resulting in the collapse of the Ghanaian economy and an excruciating cost of living crisis that we are seeing. And finally, on the last ground, we are saying that we've seen gross mismanagement of the Ghanaian economy, which has occasioned untold and unprecedented hardship to the people of Ghana. Colleagues, we can't do this alone.
Moments ago, these were the statements from the minority side. Let's take you back to Parliament. Kwaku Asante is monitoring events for us. Kwaku, just bring us up to speed with the marathon meetings happening in the House as we speak.
So indeed, Blessed, because of these new information that have come up today, having to do with some majority MPs dropping a bombshell and going against the norm and calling for the dismissal of one of their own members of their party, we understand a lot of marathon meetings are currently happening. The presidency as well as the party leadership here are trying to get on and be on the same wavelength. What we understand now is that the majority leadership were very much aware that something like this was coming, and that indeed in the last 3 months, especially since Parliament had been on break, the majority MPs had asked the leadership to speak to the president to take a firmer decision on Ken Ofori-Atta. That did not seem to have happened because given all the requests they made to President Akufo-Addo, the president kept on saying that Ken Ofori-Atta is the best minister, he's an excellent performer and should not be sacked. They say that this is not the time to put party consideration above. And indeed, if they were to sit down for Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta to proceed and go ahead with the way he is currently managing the economy, the NPP would have to kiss the next election goodbye, and they will lose massively. And so that is what has prompted about 80 of them to come forward so far. We know that there are a number of them, including cabinet ministers, who have not put their names out yet, but who are in support of this decision. Indeed, it is expected that in the coming days, if the president does not dismiss Ken Ofori-Atta, some of them will be willing to lay down their tools, and that is the indication I'm getting from very high-ranking sources within the NPP party here in Parliament. So, very much interesting day in Parliament. Parliament was completely about to look at something else, but this press conference from the New Patriotic Party has completely shifted the way things were expected to happen. It's putting the spotlight on Ken Ofori-Atta and President Akufo-Addo.
Do we have a sense of the actual list of governing NPP lawmakers who have signed on to?
So we have about 25 of them. Those were the ones who came to stand by the podium and address the press conference. Majority of them coming from the Ashanti region, which is the party's stronghold. Very interesting connection to be able to create over there. So that has been done. But there's also a number of signatories who have signed, and the media is waiting on the party to provide that. Indeed, when they address the media, they made it clear that they are willing to give us that names of the more than 80 MPs who are signing on to this request of the president to sack. As of now, we don't have it yet, but it is coming in. But if you look at the list so far, the people who came to address the press conference, very high-ranking members of the party. If you look at Andy Appiah-Kubi, he is one of the very respected NPP MPs from the Ashanti region, Asante Achemnof, Andy Appiah-Kubi there. You have Dr. Efriye Ayu. He's the chairman of the Health Committee. And if you know the way Parliament works, chairmen of committee are usually very much in sync with government. They work with ministers. And so for some of them to come out, including the chair of the Government Assurances Committee, Patricia PJ, MP for Asokwa, all of them to now come forward, putting the pressure on President Akufo-Addo to sack his finance minister. It clearly indicates how much consideration they've been given to this and what kind of conversation they've been having among themselves for them to be able to come out to make this demand of President Akufo-Addo.
Kwaku, there are questions also about the timing, the decision for these MPs to come up at this point when Parliament is just returning from recess.
So what I understand is that the NPP MPs wanted to make this the big agenda, and they did not want to wait for other issues to cloud that. We know that the Speaker was preparing himself today to decide whether or not the Privileges Committee report on Sarah Adwoa Safo should be final or not. And because of some of these issues, the Speaker says he's doing that tomorrow. So that has been postponed for now to tomorrow. There are a number of issues that are in this meeting of Parliament. It's usually called the budget meeting. The main item is the 2023 budget. But now that the finance minister is under pressure, we do not even know if he will live, quote unquote, to wait until November to present the 2023 budget to Parliament, because the pressure is getting to him, and even members of his own party are after him. So that is the concerns that have been expressed, and the NPP MPs say that this could not have been, there could have not been any better timing to do this. But like you said, the NDC MPs have also filed their vote of censure, and they have 137 MPs. If they get 80 MPs, they will defeat any attempt to keep the finance minister in the office. So the president has a short time to make a determination whether or not to sack Ofori-Atta or to wait for Parliament to vote against him. And we know also that the vote of censure is a private vote. Members of Parliament will go into private and then decide by a thumb whether or not to vote for whatever motion that is on the table. So very interesting days coming ahead, and the ball is now in the court of the president to take this very tough decision.
Any signs of government officials around ever since the motion and also the demand by the NPP lawmakers were tabled?
Not yet. We haven't had government officials other than MPs who are also cabinet ministers, other ministers in very official positions. They've been around, and the chatter around is that this go very deep. This request from some of the NPP MPs go very deep, and it's something that they've been looking at for a while. But what we are picking is that government is going to use the rest of today, maybe if they have up until the end of the week, to try and decide or look at what options are available to them if they are able to convince these NPP MPs, because without the NPP MPs, there is no way a vote of censure will succeed. If they're able to get their NPP MPs, 80 of them, who say kind of Ofori-Atta must go, to change their mind, then the vote of censure will fail eventually, because 137 MPs is not enough to remove a minister. To do so, you need 183. So if they're able to change the mind of the MPs, they would have made some very interesting headway.
Asante, parliamentary correspondent, joining us with the latest on this. We're still keeping our eyes on the vote of censure. And of course, I want to bring excerpts of that vote of censure that was filed by the minority side of the House for you to see on the screens. Excerpts indicating what exactly it is that the minority is asking for. So there you have it. They're basing their conditions on a number of issues. First of all, the concern about the conflict of interest, ensuring that in cases, for instance, where he directly benefited from Ghana's economic woes in terms of the bonds that we get on the market. Then there's the issue of the unconstitutional withdrawals from the consolidated funds, which is in blatant contravention of Article 178, as the minority is arguing. There's also the issue about the illegal payment of oil revenues into some offshore accounts. The finance minister, per the dictates of the Constitution and parliamentary proceedings, would have to respond to some of these claims if indeed the motion sees the light of day. There's also the deliberate and dishonest misreporting on our economic conditions. That's another accusation being leveled by the minority side of the House. There's the issue about the fiscal recklessness leading to the crash of the Ghana cedi, and also the alarming incompetence and what the minority says is a frightening ineptitude resulting in the collapse of the Ghanaian economy. So excerpts of the demands by the minority. I want to, at this point, bring in now Nehemiah Atigan, who's co-founder of Odiko. Odiko is a parliamentary monitoring group. They were mounting pressure for Parliament to be on its feet. Nehemiah, it's a good time to be talking to you. Parliament is just returning from recess, and many say that the House is back on its feet. I guess this is what you were looking for right from the start when you called on MPs to perform their duties efficiently.
They are functioning by way of scrutiny of policies and also conduct of the executive through their committees, through questioning ministers and all the motions and things that are core in terms of their mandate as members of Parliament, because they are representatives of the people. And so we are happy to see this. Some people may call it a gimmick. I don't think it's a gimmick, because I think that this is long overdue. This should have happened a long time ago. And because once you are representing a people and the people are not happy with things or with the conduct of of ministers of state. You need to bring them to order, and this is a step in the right direction.
The belief is that, of course, Parliament has quite a lot of outstanding matters to deal with. This may not be the right way to start once you return from recess. Of course, Odikro, in your last report, you've pointed out, for instance, issues of absenteeism, which we'll be delving into shortly. But then there are other issues that you also pointed out and raised with the Speaker of Parliament. The belief is that would have been the focus of the House once they're returning.
Yes, but this is also a critical issue. And so whilst there are a number of bills to look at, whilst there are a number of issues, including that of Adwoa Safo and the other absentee MPs, this particular issue is one that has to be dealt with, because here is a group of people, as Ghanaians, as citizens, who have lost confidence in the economy and who continue to see the cedi depreciate against the dollar. And there's no communication from the finance minister or even from the president to give confidence to the people. And so if MPs, both on the minority side and the majority side, as representatives of their people, deem it right at this time to initiate an action that will ensure that the president takes action against the finance minister and his assistants, I think that we should be happy about it, and we should look at it as part of their core activities. And so whilst there are a number of bills and businesses to work on, we think that this is somewhat of a priority. And this, like I said, should have happened a long time ago.
The issues are diverse. I mean, two broad areas if we split them apart. The issue about the censure, we'll talk about what the parliamentary practices will be once that is stable. But there is, first of all, what many are describing as unprecedented. The fact that we're seeing for the very first time members of the governing party call out their own. We've not seen that in a very long time. I stand to be corrected on that. And what does that mean for parliamentary democracy in your view?
It just means that we are moving from that place where members of parliament move from just being, should I say, rubber stampers to people who are truly representing their people. Because in the past, you've seen that members of parliament, especially from the ruling government side, would always support what their sitting president will present and what the government business is. But in a way, they are protecting their seats as well, because you are a representative of the people. And what do you need to do? You need to do things that is in the interest of the people. Listen, the level of agitation amongst Ghanaians right now, especially where we find ourselves in a state of confusion as to what is going on, is such a big deal that you cannot pretend that you don't know what is going on. And so even if you sit on the majority side, even though this is unprecedented, I think that we are actually moving our democracy to that point where maybe we are seeing a change where majority MPs would actually do what they are required to do, to also check the executive, because we all know that we are not practicing proper separation of powers. There's a fusion between the legislature and the executive. But if they are taking this action, then I think that we should be happy about it. This is something, this particular part of our Fourth Republic is interesting, from having a hung parliament to getting majority MPs who are taking action or taking interventions like this against the sitting president and the executive.
And now to the issue about the vote of censure. Normally, what's the parliamentary practice? What's next after, of course, that motion is tabled before the House?
So the motion has been tabled, but you need a certain number of MPs to support. And once you have that number, then the process can move forward. Now, it's interesting that the minority have moved this, because what is then going to happen is the number of MPs on the majority side who are in support of certain action or who have already gone out to register their displeasure would have to join the minority for this to go through. And so if we can get, I think 180 members or so to actually be aligned to this particular motion, then we can get this through. Some people even think that maybe there should even be, I mean, maybe I should do this, but I was going to say that people are even of an opinion that there should even be some initiation of impeachment because of the things that are going on. And if there's clearly a position of MPs from both sides aligning to the current situation and having that vote of no confidence in the current administration, then that should be something to look at.
Of course, obviously the opinion of Ghanaians will matter in this. JoyNews has been putting up a poll asking Ghanaians what they think about what's happening in Parliament. Of course, Nehemiah, let's look at the verdict and perhaps get more analysis from you on this. So we put up a question on Twitter asking Ghanaians what they think about what's going on in Parliament. So let's get to it right away and bring you excerpts of what it is that we've been asking on social media in terms of the vote or poll, if you want to call it, that's underway on Twitter. So we know that, first of all, some MPs belonging to the NPP side want Ken Ofori-Atta sacked as the finance minister. We are asking the public and those who follow us on social media to find out what they think about this call, not just from the minority side of the House, but also we're asking those from the majority side who are asking the president to dismiss the finance minister. A whopping 92.6% of those who have participated in this poll so far, well over 2,000, about 3,000 people. So it's 2,765 votes to be precise. 19 hours ago, that's when we put up this post. Majority of them, significant, over 90% are asking that, yes, indeed, the finance minister needs to leave office. 7.4% of that number are of the opinion that he needs to stay in office, or perhaps they may be thinking at the time that this would not be the right time for us to dismiss the finance minister. And that puts a lot of pressure on government as well. We'll come back to you, Nehemiah. Just hold on for us briefly, because 3 different high-level meetings are also underway, but it has only one agenda: the economy and how to fix it, and also how to get the issues back on track. We're told by the Information Minister, Kojo Nkrumah, that a marathon of meetings will be happening. Let's cross over now to presidential correspondent Elton Brobe, who has updates for us. Elton, take us away. What's the president up to, knowing that there's pressure for his #1 appointee, the finance minister, to be sacked from office?
Well, Blessed, I can say that here at the Jubilee House I mean, for want of a better word, I want to say that the place looks like a marketplace. We have all manner of people who are here. And the meetings that you spoke about, they are yet to start, because for my information, the president is meeting other people. In fact, when I got here, I saw the national organizer of the MPP, in fact, the leadership of the MPP, even from the regions, Chairman Wunting of the Ashanti region, and few others, all have come in here. And I'm thinking that it had to do with what happened in Parliament today, where some members on the MPP side, in an unprecedented move, called on the president to sack the finance minister. It's beginning to drizzle here. So let me walk back into the main room. But they are here, and indeed, my information that the president is meeting the MPP, leaders who have come here to understand what is going on and to agree on the way forward, so as to respond to the demands of the MPP minority in Parliament. So that is what is happening here. And my information is that when that is done, it will be when the president will now begin to meet other members from the Bank of Ghana who are here, also the Association of Ghana Industries, bankers, Council of State. I saw a while ago the chairperson of the Council of State make his way to the Jubilee House, and then leadership of transport unions. But what is happening is that the president is currently held up in a meeting with leadership of the MPP who have come also from the regions as well. And the matter on the table, according to my sources, is to deliberate on what happened in Parliament today, and then decide on the way forward regarding how to react or respond to the demands of some members of the MPP who are unionism, demanding the resignation of the finance minister or the president's sacking. And if that is not done, they've made it clear that they may not participate or support government business on the floor. And in this particular meeting, which started today, the main agenda is the consideration of the 2023 budget and financial statements of government. And they've made it clear that they may not participate in the budget presentation. They will not debate it, which means that estimates that may be going to the ministry, department, and agencies may suffer if you have MPP members staying out of the deliberation of the 2023 budget. So, we're waiting for the advertised meetings to start. Key amongst them, the meeting with the Association of Ghana Industry, who are lamenting the cost of doing business in the country. We've also heard from the banks who are saying that it will be particularly difficult for them to loan to customers if the current economic distress continues. We also heard from GPRT and other transport unions. They proposed a 40% increment in transport fare because of the recent increment in petroleum products. And they are saying that if the 40% is not done, they may not be able to pay together. So we're waiting for these meetings to start, and we'll hear from what the president has to say.
And Elton, any signs of the finance minister himself?
Well, I haven't come across him. I'm here to cite him or any of his deputies. But when I got here, I saw a number of ministers, cabinet ministers who are here. In fact, I saw the employment minister and the trade minister as well, and some other key ministers. In fact, the entire car park on the driveway here at the Jubilee House is filled with vehicles, and it hasn't happened so often. Meaning, a lot's happening here in the Jubilee House. But finance minister, I'm yet to come across him. Even though I've been told that the economic management team of the government is currently meeting, maybe he is in that meeting, which is chaired by the vice president. We are yet to have a visual confirmation of him here at the Jubilee House. When I'm able to do that, then we're able to tell our listeners and viewers what is happening. But for now, there is leadership of the NPP meeting with the president, and there are advertised meetings that are yet to start.
All right, then. Elton Brobu, our presidential correspondent, giving us the latest. The president is definitely up to a lot this afternoon, meetings back to back, starting off with the mounting pressure for Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta to leave office. Nehemiah, you've been monitoring all of this, and I also want to pick up your thoughts on the latest poll that we're getting online. 92% out of 3,000, close to 3,000 persons who have participated in our poll so far.
I mean, this is a true reflection of the thoughts of the people and the position of the people. And as you heard from Elton, there's really no confidence even from industry. And if you have industry not having confidence in the economy and in the government and in the ability of the government to repay loans and also to provide any form of stability, that means that we are grinding to a halt. And so the votes, the poll that you just showed, is a true reflection of the state of mind of the people, or the true reflection of the state of the nation. And listen, over the years, we've had citizens go to the polls to elect an individual to represent them under a party, and then they go to Parliament and then they take the party's position. If they decide to sway anyway, the whip will keep them in line and ensure that they stick by the party's position. For the first time, you are having parties going against what the individuals or MPs going against what the party's position is. And this is one example, and we saw that in the Adwoa Safo case as well, where there were members of the minority who were supporting the action of the speaker, and then there were some who were against the action. So gradually, we are getting to that point where the members of parliament will actually take the position of the people. And so this is a clear reflection, and no two ways about that. And I don't think you are confused about it. Ghanaians do not want Ken Ofori-Atta as the finance minister because he lost confidence in his abilities to manage the economy, to maintain the economy, and to get us to that point where we are comfortable.
Focus on Adwoa Safo herself. Of course, the Speaker has deferred matters relating to her fate to Wednesday. What's your expectation as the House resumes in earnest, trying as much as possible to consider some of the issues relating to truancy in the House, specific regards to Sarah Adwoa Safo?
I mean, for us, we would have said that, okay, so the Privileges Committee has ruled that this person must lose their seat. But as Odiko, we know from our work, from our monitoring, from the data, over 30 MPs also are in contravention of Article 97+1C. And so if they are going to do this, then the rest of the MPs will also have to go as well, or will have to be called to order, will have to be referred to the Privileges Committee, because we can't have one person being singled out for something that a number of them are found culpable in. And I think that we've once again written to the Speaker, we've provided the data, we've outlined everything, provided the details and the summary of everything. And so we know that this Speaker will eventually act on it. And so we believe that, yes, we may want to take an action, but Adwoa Safo is not the only culprit. So let's also deal with the other folks. Let's make sure that we are running a rule that is fair to everyone, that is a reflection of what he is as a speaker, and not a situation where it looks like she's being witch hunted by a certain group or even her own political party because of her absence that's affecting their business. And so we are hoping that the speaker will actually be fair in his ruling and will ensure that the other 30 or so MPs would also be brought to book.
And if there's anything to change about this session of Parliament in terms of holding governments accountable and parliamentary duties, where would Odikro want that focus to be?
Well, we want them to move away from rubber stamping. We want them to go into doing more in terms of being representative. We want them to do more in terms of checking the executive. We also want them to, as they are a house of rules and a house of records, they should actually ensure that they use those records to influence the things that they do, but they also follow the rules and ensure that they are not doing things that are in contravention of the Constitution. We also believe that this is the time for reforms. This is the time to reform the Constitution. This is the time to reform the standing orders. Let's get these things done. And once we get these things done, we'll be building the foundations that will ensure that we enhance our democracy to become much more participatory and also become more transparent and accountable in not just by words, but in deeds.
That you've been able to spend some time with us. Nehemiah Atiga, co-founder of Parliamentary Monitoring Group, Odikro. Let's stay on it. And the race for the internal positions within the National Democratic Congress is heating up. We can now cross you over and listen to General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Asiedu Nketia, who's lacing his boots to take up the role as National Chairman of the National Democratic Congress. Is scheduled to speak. We have live pictures now. We can listen to Asiedu Nketia.
EP, led by President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. The hard work and shift we put into the organization of the party towards the last elections has rekindled our spirits. There is every indication that come 2024, inshallah, the NDC will be voted to power again. The NDC will return to power in 2025 to salvage the country from the exceptionally bad governance and mismanagement of the Akufo-Addo and Bawumia government that has plunged us into daily sorrow and misery as a people. My tenure as General Secretary of the NDC witnessed some of the best moments in my life, as it afforded me an opportunity to contribute to shaping both the historical and future trajectory of the NDC and our country's politics. It has been a storied journey, no doubt. The journey over that period was not without its challenges. But by God's grace, I was able to surmount most, if not all, the obstacles that came my way. It is a journey that I could not have navigated without the telling contributions and support of the teeming masses of our members and supporters. It has been heartwarming, the level of support I have received in the course of my work for the party. And I thank you NDC members for consistently returning me to power with over 80% endorsement throughout the country. That is why I'm poised to pave the way for other vibrant young men and women to fill my shoes as I contest to the national chairmanship of NDC. Those to whom I'm indebted to for how far I have come are too numerous to name individually. But I would greatly be remiss if I fail to thank all the many party executives, right from the branches through to the constituencies up to the national level, who made my stay in the office of General Secretary worthwhile. I owe a debt of gratitude to our late founder, His Excellency Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, our late president, His Excellency John Evans Atta Mills, and His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. The late Captain Kwajo Chikata, the late Honorable J. Joshua Champong, the late Honorable Ajay Mensah, the late Honorable Munufie, the late Professor Kofi Awuno, Alhaji Mahama Idrusu, luckily he's not late, and all the great men and women from whom we drew inspiration and whose sweat and toil brought this party into being. Because of them, I had the unique opportunity to serve in this capacity. I need also to acknowledge the late Dr. Kwabraje Wayo. Honorable Dr. Kofi Potofi and Honorable Samuel Ofosuampofo, all of whom I had the privilege of working closely with during my tenure when they also served as national chairman of the National Democratic Congress. I cannot end these acknowledgements without mentioning the other real architects of my general secretaryship bid some 17 years ago. And this is a secret I had kept to myself. These were my colleagues in Parliament who saw that I had a contribution to make at that critical moment in the party's history. Remember, the party was divided into President Rawlings's camp and Chairman Obed Asamoah's camp. And my colleagues in Parliament felt that there is somebody who can come out, defy all these divisions, unite the party, and position the party for victory. They are the Right Honorable Do Ajaho. He was then Honorable Member for Aveno. The Right Honorable ASK Bagben. I've already mentioned Honorable John Dramani Mahama of Bole Bamboy. I've mentioned him in a different capacity already. And His Excellency Dan Abodakwi. These were the architects of my general secretaryship bid, because the party itself was divided. And the only united front was in Parliament. And these are the people who met and decided that let us push this man. He can unite the party and bring us back to power. I will be leaving the position gratified at the many successes that we chalked together as a party. While I served as General Secretary, many improvements were brought to the running of the party and many milestones were reached. It will be impossible to recount all the gains we made over the years, but permit me to recall a few that stand out. Under my stewardship as the chief scribe, we won the watershed 2008 elections when everybody felt that it wasn't possible. And Judge Mensah and the others were predicting a total collapse and annihilation of NDC. Again, we campaigned vigorously together with President John Dramani Mahama over just 4 months to retain power in 2012 after the untimely demise of President John Evans Atta Mills. When the MPP led by Nana Akufo-Addo mischievously challenged our 2012 presidential victory at the Supreme Court, in a deliberate attempt to unseat President John Dramani Mahama, I courageously and fearlessly mounted the witness box. A power tapa in the witness box for the first time. Together with lawyers Chachu Chikata and the likes of lawyer Tony Lita, lawyer Kujo, we made nonsense of Dr. Baumia's and MPP's fake evidence, which they submitted to support their case, and won victory for the NDC. The NDC acquired an ultra-modern head office, the first of its kind in Ghana, which is equipped to make efficient administration of the party possible. You remember the $20 million accusation? I stood my ground. Many party executives were not willing to move into that office. I did. And stayed for 3 months before others joined me there. The head office has a modern conference facility and a well-stocked library accessible to both members of the party and the general public. Now students from universities are going to Professor Atta Mills' library at NDC headquarters to study. Let me thank President Atta Mills, the then President Mahama, and all the key people who worked to put up this building. We established the Institute for Social Democracy, which Dr. Haji has already spoken about, to deepen knowledge about our ideology and worldview among members and the larger Ghanaian public. We ensured greater democratic decision-making in the party by expanding the National Executive Committee to include representatives of the youth and women. When I took over, there were only 2 representatives from the regions: the regional chairman and the regional secretary on the National Executive. We felt that as a social democratic party, that was wrong. So we expanded the National Executive Committee to include all regional youth organizers and all regional women organizers and all organizers. That is how come our decisions today are more representative of the party's wishes. Our electoral college system has been expanded to make it the largest in Ghana now. When we took over, it took a small number of delegates who will be meeting at Congress to choose our flag bearer. We decided that the decision as to who the flag bearer ought to be should be taken by the masses. So today, branch executives participate in the choice of who our flag bearer ought to be. We introduced an electronic membership registration drive to allow more efficient data collection and information. This helps us with good knowledge of our membership, their skills set, and distribution across the country and abroad. We injected more transparency and accountability into the financial administration of the party through the introduction of electronic dues collection and other payment systems. It did not come easy. Those who were benefiting from manual collections fought this reform, but we stayed on course. And now, every payment is made through an electronic system, and it has a trail into our bank accounts. And when we disburse monies, they don't go through people who hand over to other people, who hand over to other people. And across the road, there will be editing and editing and editing. We have abolished that system. And because of this level of transparency, today, we are always the first political party to submit our audited accounts to the Electoral Commission. We compiled and published the historical record of the NDC into one body of work, readily available to party members and the general public. NDC leaders did not want to write. Some were vowing, we will go into the grave with what is in our head. I kept saying that, let us put something down. Otherwise, in future, Nana Akufo-Addo will get up one day and say that he established NDC. So, again, we defied the odds and collected all information in our archives about the administrative history of this party. Luckily, many of the architects were alive, so they were interviewed, and where there was documentation, we put it together. So today, you have a 1,500-page reference book about the history of NDC. And to a large extent, the political history of Ghana, where you will find evidence to support the fact that Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah remains the founder of the nation Ghana. In my capacity as General Secretary and as a unifier, I led negotiations with the breakaway party, the Democratic Reform Party, then led by Dr. Obeda Samoa, which led to its merger back into NDC. Those of you who were not around, the first truly democratic elections of this party were held in Koforidua. And a whole lot of national executives were voted out. That was where I came onto the scene. I did not see the defeated comrades as enemies. We kept communicating with them and encouraging them to abandon the new party they had formed to come back to their fold. That was what led to the merger of the NDP back into NDC. DFP back into NDC. It means the NDP is on the way. So, ladies and gentlemen, today, you see some of the key members of the DFP occupying very important positions in NDC. I can mention Comrade Bidzeden, the General Secretary I defeated. He's now a member of Parliament. Dr. Obeda Samoa is now a key member of the Council of Elders of NDC. We didn't just abandon them, but we kept encouraging them till we were able to convince them to come back for us to have a stronger NDC. We projected the NDC internationally and forged closer ties with like-minded progressive parties across the globe. As a result, the NDC has the distinction of holding the vice presidential position of Socialist International. The Socialist International is the biggest political organization across the globe and is the leading international grouping of all progressive parties in the world. And I became the vice president because of NDC. We also established the Professional Forum, the NDC Lawyers Association, and the Progressive Intellectuals to give solid intellectual and legal inputs into the policy and programs of the party. Now NDC is stronger. Who says we don't have the men? Who says we don't have the lecturers? Who says we don't have the lawyers? Thank you very much. We have made the NDC a more youth-oriented organization by affording many young people the opportunity to participate in international conferences and training programs, including scholarships to study medicine and other disciplines abroad. In fact, anytime I attend Socialist International meetings, I make sure I pick a young person from NDC to participate and learn. The foregoing constitutes only a small fraction of what we have achieved in my time as General Secretary. As all good things come to an end, my stay as the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress is in its twilight phase. And as this time fast approached, it became necessary to carry out honest self-assessment and introspection about my achievements and my failures. I had a choice between calling term on my political career and walking into the sunset to support from behind, or charting a new path. I find that despite our best and collective efforts as a party, a lot more remains to be done to finally achieve the level of efficiency and effectiveness we desire as a party and ensure total victory in 2024 elections and beyond. Despite the years of hard work we have put into building this party, our collective vision to build the strongest, most fearless, most courageous, most formidable, most electable, and viable political organization in Ghana and Africa remains work in progress. That means we must put in even more work than before, and to do this, we need to have a fine blend of experience, fearless, trustworthy, and innovative thinking at the helm of the party. With courage and tact, there's no way the NDC would have been defeated in Adwoa Safo West Wogon by-elections. That defeat emboldened the new patriotic party to roll out a mega diabolical plan which claimed the lives of 8 of our compatriots in the 2020 elections. May their souls rest in perfect peace. And I promise that under my chairmanship, we shall win 2024. Let the NPP bring it on. And when we win, we shall ensure that justice is done. The dead deserves justice. And so are the grieving family members yearning for justice. I am a firm believer in the truism that organizations must reinvent and rejuvenate themselves from time to time, and as the NDC abounds in talents, my exit from the General Secretary's slot will usher in a new dispensation that allows the injection of a new face with new ideas. I also do know that the complexities of Ghana's political terrain and our immediate and long-term objective as a party require that these new ideas receive experience complementation to hit the desired target. But it must be the right kind of experience, honed through years of principled consistency and committed service to the cause and ideals of the National Democratic Congress. After lengthy consideration, deliberation, and consultation with my family, friends, and many within our party, I have taken the humble view that the vast experience I have gained as General Secretary should be placed at the disposal of the party in a different capacity. I have therefore decided to run for the position of National Chairman of the NDC in the upcoming National Executive Elections slated for December 2022. I have not taken this decision lightly. I have weighed all the possible scenarios and concluded that the experiences garnered over the years will prove very useful in our forward march as a party. The order of business before us, both in the immediate and distant future, which includes dislodging the obnoxious MPP government led by Akufo-Addo and halting the precipitous collapse of our country, means that we need to marshal our very best arsenals. Together with the soon-to-be elected new General Secretary and the national executives, we can position this party to realize its ambition and prospects as the go-to umbrella body of all progressives in Ghana, and on whose time-tested principles our country's future rests. I come to this contest with a clear mind on what needs to be done going forward and how to build on the gains of the past and present. There is a whole raft of reforms that I would like to see implemented under my chairmanship and in conjunction with all stakeholders. These, I believe, will further strengthen the NDC and make it even more viable. The following will be some of the proposals and policy positions I will be bringing on board for consideration as national chairman. 1, it is true that I have been the longest serving general secretary of any political party in Ghana. But it is my view also that organizations need to grow and evolve as they do so. I think the time has come to consider the introduction of term limits for office holders in NDC, as this will help encourage participation of young people at the highest levels of the party and make office holders more accountable. 2, I would also propose a decentralized national congress to elect party executives, and as we have done with the flag bearer. I'll propose that they are, as a first step, held at the regional level, and then after testing the outcomes, held at constituency levels. The direct benefit of this is cutting down the astronomical cost of holding large national congresses with thousands of participants and the associated risks of traveling from far and near for such congresses. Special and well-structured party conferences devoid of campaigning can be held subsequently to discuss party constitutional and policy matters as well as matters of national interest. For many years, we've all known that the current mode of selection of party executives and candidates at all levels is too costly and unsustainable and has implications for governance when we come to power. For a mass-based organization like the NDC, there is an undeniable need for much broader participation by as many members of the party as possible and at the least possible cost. We cannot perpetually encourage the unsustainable expenditure associated with vying for positions in the party. It is for this reason that we attempted universal suffrage in 2015 primaries. Despite varying degrees of success and challenges during that attempt, it remains the best way to curb monetization and restricted participation in party primaries, and I will be tabling it for consideration as chairman of this party. We will deepen mass registration of party members with a view to achieving continuous registration and ultimately building a fully integrated database for more efficient management. This will help eliminate disputes about memberships and reduce opportunity for manipulation of registers for electoral purposes. It will enhance dues collection and other funding avenues, like donations and the rest. As National Chairman, I will champion the provision of a permanent campus for the Institute for Social Democracy to make it a fully fledged institution of political and ideological learning with accreditation and open access to social democratic parties, institutions, labor union leaders, and personnel of civil society organizations in and outside Ghana. The party school will run programs for all office holders in the NDC and bring them up to speed with their responsibilities. Many of the conflicts that occur in the party is born out of the fact that people are elected and they operate the party according to the knowledge they have acquired earlier on. If you elect teachers, they try to run the party there like gnats. If you elect GPRTU leaders, they run the party there as leaders. NDC must train its leadership across the country in the ways the party run and according to our party's constitution. And we can only do this when we have this permanent campus of the Institute of Social Democracy. The party, I beg your pardon, I will collaborate with my successor General Secretary, whoever he may be, to continue with the financial reforms we are currently implementing, to give the branches, constituency, and regional wings of the party greater financial autonomy and independence with strict financial and accounting lines to ensure maximum transparency in the collection and utilization of funds within the party. We will revive the NDC Heroes Fund to serve as a sustainable means of supporting party functionaries who suffer disabilities in the course of their duties in the service of the party or their dependents in the event of death. In short, I will lead my colleagues as your chairman to make the NDC a formidable, attractive, and modern organization that will be the party of choice for the teeming masses of Ghanaians, the youth, the women, the vulnerable in society, and people from all walks of life and background. The NDC will be the reference point for effective social mobilization to unleash the potential of the Ghanaian to achieve any feat and realize our collective aspirations. Eyezu! Eyezu! Fellow Akatamanso.
Live pictures now of Johnson Asiedu Nketia finally and officially declaring his intent to run as the chairperson of the National Democratic Congress after serving the political party for close to 17 years as its general secretary. Now he wants to introduce term limits for anyone who will run after him. Well, these are but a few of the issues that Johnson Asiedu Nketia pointed out to, a number of financial reforms and also some deep-cutting policies he would want to roll out as leader or the chairperson of the opposition party. Let's get some reactions to this very intent that's been declared. Elikem Kotoko as General Secretary of the Young Professionals Group. That's a pro-party group of young persons who are professionals. He's been listening and monitoring the declaration by Johnson Asiedu Nketia. Elikem, thank you for your time. He says he would make the party attractive to both women, men, and the youth. As the young professionals, how is this coming to you? And listening to some of the reforms he's putting in place, he wants a tenure, a cap on the tenure for general secretaries so we can have younger people serve in office for the NDC. Elikem, kindly unmute so we can get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think first and foremost, I must congratulate Mr. Johnson Asiedu Nketia for his showmanship. As you are aware, he's been the longest serving General Secretary of the NDC. But he has just gone a notch further to demonstrate that the NDC, being a party which is left of center, is appreciative of healthy competition in a democratic dispensation. The reforms he seeks to actually implement, should he be given the nod as chairman of the NDC, are equally laudable. I am one of those who even believe strongly that term limits are equally very important, but we ought to look at it carefully to see whose interest that serves. And so the fact that he has been General Secretary and has acquired enough experience and wants to progress, nothing bars him at all from doing so. We in the young professionals believe that anybody who is capable and is settled on by the masses, when I say the masses, referring to the electorate or the delegates of the NDC, we would actually have, that person will have our back. I would want to suffice that to say that as young people, we look forward to make sure we blend our little experience with the most experienced people in order to make sure that we advance the cause of the party or the political party that we belong to. And that is just one good thing. I don't know, maybe other people may also have their declarations to make very soon, or campaign launch as to the intentions they want to, the harbor that they want to contest for.
Johnson Asiedu Nketia himself has come under intense criticism in recent time, the fact that he's been in office for the past 17 years. What else is Johnson Asiedu Nketia looking for?
So long as he has not flouted any law, I am not sure that any criticism is justified. Even you would agree with me that in your studios, you may have some of your people criticize you. The very good old John Dramani Mahama even is still being criticized, even though he's not the president of Ghana. And so that should not be a basis at all. But I think he has outlined a few of the things he has done. The fact that we have put records down to administrative records about the NDC, some decisions that were taken, and he has outlined them. Is that enough? Is it more than too much? Will it convince the delegates to say, let's give him our term so that he can move further in order to advance the progress we all seek? And is he capable enough to win the election? After winning the election, can he also be capable to govern as a chairman? It's one thing being a chairman, another being a general secretary otherwise. For that reason, but I think that he has demonstrated, just like all others who occupy various positions, their capabilities. And even though he may have his shortfalls, I think that democracy allows for what he is doing, which is laudable, and we are also learning from that as young people.
He's now mentioning the name of the former president, John Dramani Mahama, as part of those who orchestrated his electoral victory as general secretary. Well, he says he's mentioning his name in a different capacity at the time when he was member of parliament. But that's where the question arises as to party unity before and after the National Congress come December. There are fears that your party may be disintegrated after December.
I'm sure you are aware how old the NDC when it comes to politics. Disintegration is not part of what we have in our encyclopedia. The fact is that in forging unity, there's always that display of maturity, which is something that is imbibed in everybody who believes in the left of center ideology, which the NDC stands for. And so I do not think there may be some followers and other people who may interpret other things to mean different things. But that is not it. The basic thing is that Johnson Asiedu Nketia has decided or declared his intention to contest and has launched his campaign. Has he done anything wrong against the laws? No. And so I am certain that having mentioned former President John Dramani Mahama, if you gave him all the time, he would have mentioned all other names of people, notable stalwarts within the party that he worked with. It is the reason why we in the young professionals believe that whoever is settled on, or all those settled on finally as executives of the party, are the very people that we will be working with regardless, because we are supposed to be colorblind at this point in time until when people are elected. Suffice it to say that even my own self, as I speak to you, I have the intention of contesting for Deputy National Organizer. Many are those who may also be contesting for that position. The ultimate is to seek the best of the party and ensure that we wrestle power from President Nana Akufo-Addo, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and the NPP that has plunged this nation into total chaos.
We need to state that that event is just wrapped up where Johnson Asiedu Nketia declared his national chairmanship. Now that leaves the position open for those who are contending. 3 names have come up, and there are also a lot more issues happening as to how your party should be going about the reorganization process. The General Secretary just raised the point about decentralizing the election process. How soon should considerations be given to such a move? The fact that it will first of all reduce cost, the tension, and also make the process a bit more transparent if we decentralize the elections.
I think decentralization is just part of the democratic process and the way to go. I believe strongly that, having said that as part of his intentions, it means that when given the nod as chairman, under his leadership, before he even exits, if it is going to just go for a single term, it means he will make sure that that is implemented. And so the next Congress, which will be probably another 4 years from now, would make sure that that happens. And it's going to be a good one. I hold a view that is of my personal opinion, that even reorganization, probably one would say, should have been left for the newly elected officers who actually may come in and want to supervise over that, but not the incumbent who will do that. Then when you take over new leadership, what if the new leadership also wants to have another reorganization? But those are all the nuances of administration, and every leader and their own style and how it inures to the benefit of the larger society.
And finally, the question about how attractive or otherwise the NDC is. Johnson Asiedu Nketia says, when I become the chairperson, giving you the best bet, we'll win the 2024 elections. Is the NDC confident of victory, knowing that you're not even done with your internal processes yet? It's beginning to raise a lot of agitations, even before you go into the 2024 elections.
There's no reason to worry. I mean, the NDC, as you'll agree with me, but because you're an empire, you cannot say so publicly. The NDC has become the most trusted and attractive political organization in Ghana at the moment. More reason being that had we not given the opportunity to the current dispensation being overlooked by, being supervised by President Nana and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, many would have said that, oh, President Nana would have been the best president if we had voted for him. We've given him the opportunity, and you and I can agree to the fact that we find ourselves in an economic mess by people perceived to be the economic messiahs to the fortunes of this country. So as it stands, the NDC is not only by chance actually the most trustworthy or attractive one, but it is the only choice and alternative that is available because we have got longer time in governance, more experience, and we've got more of the men. You don't want me to mention names and just oppose them against the people that they have. You will see them fall flat because none comes close to the people that will come out from the NDC.
Anyway, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you so much for your time. Elikem Kotoko, General Secretary, Young Professionals, a pro-NDC group. And that's all we have for you here on The Pulse. I'm Blessed Sogah. To log on to myjoyonline.com. We have updates on all of our stories for you. Thanks for your company. We'll see you next time.